Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show, fourth hour. Owen Schroyer in now for David Knight. And have you been to InfoWarsStore.com or InfoWarsLife.com? And if you haven't, I have to ask why you haven't yet. That's how you support everything we do here. And we've got great specials going on right now. The final day, this is the final day, 30 to 40% off InfoWars Select Storable Food at InfoWarsStore.com. This was a limited time offer. Today is the final day. I don't know how seriously you take Kim Jong-un's threats to nuke the United States, but there are other serious threats, weather threats, power outages, all kinds of stuff. And to get storable food for your family, InfoWars Select Storable Food at InfoWarsStore.com is the best price and probably the best quality. You know that Alex goes out and he tries to find the nexus of quality and price and then gives you an even better price at InfoWarsStore.com. So take advantage of that special. Again, final day, 30 to 40% off emergency food supplies, insurance you can eat. You will not regret it. You make one purchase at InfoWarsStore.com right now. You got emergency food for your family if there is an emergency. Well, we've got some breaking news going on right now. Of course, this would be Attorney General Jeff Sessions takes aim at sanctuary cities. I'm reading a headline from ABC News. Says the Department of Justice will cut funding. Now, obviously, this is just kind of a first verbal blow, I would say, to sanctuary cities. Maybe not the first, but more of the verbal blow to sanctuary cities from Jeff Sessions, now threatening to cut the federal funding. That was him today. And, you know, this actually provides an interesting talking point here because I am all for states' rights. And there's so much that can come from this. Think about it. Sanctuary cities, to me, don't make any sense at all. It's just a liberal virtue signaling tactic and really a Democrat vote engineering campaign. That's really all it is. The Democrats use sanctuary cities to create more votes, bring in Democrat voters, and the liberals love sanctuary cities because they can virtue signal about it all day. Oh, look at what we did with these sanctuary cities. We'll take anybody. We'll take everybody. And then, of course, you get stories like what we saw in Maryland with the teenager getting raped. But let's get back to Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Now, I am fully behind the Attorney General here cutting federal funding to sanctuary cities. I think this is a great move. You cut off the funding, all of these sanctuary cities will be kaput. The only other option they'll have is to take private funding, which to me, okay, fine. Now you're actually making the liberals out there put their money where their mouth is. All these liberals that say, let's bring in all these refugees, let's bring in all these immigrants. Well, they're not opening their doors in their multi-million-dollar mansions, Leonardo DiCaprio, are they? The list goes on. So now you're forcing sanctuary cities to die via cutting federal funding, or you're forcing liberals to finally put their money where their mouth is and actually take in some of these poor people that they claim they care about so much. So let's say that Jeff Sessions, who knows how long this process will take. I think he's putting this out there saying, hey, look, sanctuary cities, get your act together. We're about to cut your funding, giving them an opportunity to actually figure out what they're going to do before he finally cuts that funding. Okay, so let's say then we reach that point and there will be sanctuary cities remaining, folks. There will be. I would guarantee that. They're going to fight this thing tooth and nail. How far this gets as far as litigation is concerned, I guess we'll wait and see. But if he cuts their federal funding, this also creates a new precedent that some of us might not like, where we say, okay, Jeff Sessions, go ahead and wield your power of purse over sanctuary cities and end them by cutting federal funding. Now, if this works, which you would assume would be a successful tactic, it would force sanctuary cities to go into the private sector. Of course, now you're dealing with the whole sense of illegal immigration becoming an issue again, people actually following the law. So who knows if we'll even need sanctuary cities when you consider that. But now you have Jeff Sessions potentially setting a precedent and realizing the power of the purse, where now he could do this for any policy he doesn't like. For example, the legalization of marijuana. Now, this is something that Jeff Sessions has been very vocally outspoken about. And here's what I would say. Because to be honest with you, I don't think that Jeff Sessions really understands the battle he's getting behind with the whole marijuana legalization or decriminalization or it being a Schedule II drug or whatever it is, because he doesn't understand, I think, how many constituents actually would not like these policies that he's putting forward. But again, this sets an interesting precedent where Jeff Sessions can come in and now say, hey, look, Colorado or Washington, or the list goes on as more states start to legalize marijuana, we're going to cut your federal funding until you follow the federal law, which marijuana use is a federal crime. So while I'm behind Jeff Sessions cutting federal funding to sanctuary cities as a means to stop them, you also have to realize that this could be a precedent that Jeff Sessions sets to impose his will moving forward. And so you need to know what Jeff Sessions' will is as we move forward so we can create a blockade or a support system for whatever policies or agendas he's going to try to move forward with. And here's what I think. Personally, to me, Donald Trump right now is taking this campaign, not necessarily one issue at a time, but he's focusing on one issue at a time and then moving his focus to the next issue whenever he reaches a stall point or a victory point with that issue. For example, with health care, even though we feel like he put the ball in Ryan's court, a lot of people say he set Ryan up for failure. Others are putting the onus on Donald Trump. Regardless, he's moved on. He's saying, okay, sorry, we put the bill out there. We were going to cut Planned Parenthood funding. We were going to cut the fines and the taxes. We couldn't get that bill passed, so Donald Trump, I mean, even though they say he loses, really he almost kind of wins if Obamacare continues to collapse, which it will, because he called that from the very beginning. So now he moves forward to the next thing. They're saying it's going to be tax reform. He's always focusing on jobs. We know this. But here's a way, I think, Donald, that you could do both. And I didn't even mean to get off on this jag, but this is where it takes me when I think about Jeff Sessions wielding the power of the federal purse and where potentially that could go. What Donald Trump, to me, needs to realize here, and Jeff Sessions, if you want to continue attacking drugs like heroin, that's fine with me. I think heroin is a serious epidemic in a lot of areas right now. It's a growing epidemic. But marijuana has not reached nearly the level of epidemic that heroin has, and they certainly should not be on the same playing field. But if you look at the economic impact that the legalization of marijuana had on the state of California, I don't see how somebody like Donald Trump doesn't open his eyes to it. Here's a guy that's focused on the economy, focused on jobs, and legalization of marijuana has helped both of those in the state of Colorado. So I don't know if Jeff Sessions has a similar approach perhaps in mind to tackling what he views as a problem, which is marijuana, as far as cutting the federal funding from states, I suppose, that want to have marijuana legal. But this is an interesting precedent that Jeff Sessions could be setting here. And of course, let's remember that this goes on not just to sanctuary cities, but universities as well. And you've got universities right now that are basically giving scholarships to non-citizens where you could say, why aren't these scholarships going to citizens? And of course, that goes with welfare, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, before we take this break, here's another news story that's interesting, and even I am not fully aware of the scope of this, but it seems to be going largely uncovered. This is a story from Fox News. Headline, South Africa accused of covering up grisly murder spree. Now, some people are calling this a white genocide. I'm really yet to find that proof. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. Just from the research that I've done, what we do have is farmers in South Africa getting brutally murdered, folks. Not just shot in the head or stabbed to death. We're talking burned. We're talking tortured. We're talking dragged into a ditch. Absolutely horrific stuff. And it's been going on consistently now. Consistently now. 70 attacks, around 25 murders on white farmers. So again, I'm not aware enough of the geosocial problems in South Africa to call this a white genocide. However, they are deeming this, it is being rumored as a cover-up of white genocide, the fact that nobody is talking about this. And it really was amazing to me to read these stories, because typically when you have a story like this with such gruesome content involved, and of course could be race-based, the mainstream news is all over it. But it does seem that they have pretty much largely ignored this quote-unquote white genocide going on in South Africa. Again, I'm not saying it's a white genocide. However, the consistency of farmers that happen to be white being brutally murdered is a story, and it is not being covered in the mainstream media, at least as far as I can tell, and I pretty much monitor it all day long, and I have not seen one story on this, whether it be television news, radio news. Just today, I started to see it surface on social media, but pretty much nothing covered there, so we'll keep an eye on that. Now, we've got some more developments. This is actually interesting. Before we go to break, I'll try to cover this. Associated Press tweets this out today. Breaking, senior counter-terror officer says there was no evidence London attacker was associated with the Islamic State or Al-Qaeda. Okay, wait a second. I've got similar stories today saying the exact opposite. Saying, A, he was in contact with ISIS, but B, we can't even get all the evidence because some of these technology firms are not allowing us in to their media platforms. We'll have more on this. What do you think on the other side? We'll take your calls. Owen Schroyer, Alex Jones Show, 4th hour.
Talk show host is Alex Jones. He's a conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host Alex Jones.
Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
Radio talk show host and conspiracy theorist Alex Jones.
Deeply, I think, racist.
I just got called racist by MSNBC.
I don't want that man to have a gun.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms.
The Alex Jones Show.
Watch the free stream live at Infowars.com/show.